sections, and then questions and answers, because I know we are here just for, sharing and basically being teachers who love teaching. So we are going to have a little introduction, a little bit of theory, but only a little bit, because I assume we all know the background and the backup of what I'm going to present. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can use the spaces around us, both around our classrooms and around our school of learning spaces. Then how we can turn our classrooms into a learning space, how we can co-design it with students, no matter the age group, and then some conclusions and question and answers. I'm just going to try and go straight to the point. So it's basically a very fruitful session with lots of discussing, because that's what I would like. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I believe that co-creation and student agency are at the heart of lifelong learning. And as I was working on cooperative learning, on making my students agents of their own learning, making them independent, I decided last year that it was time to dip my toes into co-creating our learning space together. This idea had been at the back of my mind for a long time, but as a teacher, because at the end of the day, I'm only a teacher who loves teaching, I did not have the courage or the opportunity to make it real, to make it possible in my class. It was just when I saw that I had the opportunity that I decided to throw myself into it and do it. And now I'm sharing this experience with you. That was the little introduction. No, now, if you want to do like I did, obviously you have to do some research before. And my research was with two names that they are like in my top 10 list, which is, of course, the first one is Kath Murdoch, and then Trevor Mackenzie. From Kath Murdoch, I mean, she's basically like God in my field of expertise, but from her, I took cooperative learning. Why did I take that? Because cooperation is what makes the design of learning spaces possible. So cooperative learning helps students, trains students, basically. They are trained, they are getting used to interact with their own knowledge. And with the content they are working at in class, in groups, in small groups of 4 or 5. And they can also view that experience from multiple perspectives. By teaching our students how to interact in groups, we make the knowledge development better and more focused and also more meaningful, but also we make students to be aware of how difficult it is to develop knowledge or to acquire that learning without interaction. That will help them become adults that can work in teams, that can be group leaders. Basically, they have the skills to negotiate, meaning to negotiate knowledge, to be able to develop products. And they also we learn that they work better in a group. Cooperative learning, as I said, works much better in small groups. From 3 to 4 would be the ideal number. But obviously, that's the training of this experience of co-creating a learning space, because we co-create the learning space as a big class group. Then Trevor Mackenzie, that was about Kath Murdoch. From Kath Murdoch, I took the cooperative learning, bits and pieces. From Trevor Mackenzie, how to design a PYP classroom, basically. PYP stands for Primary Years Program of Lancaster. And by knowing how to design a PYP classroom, I know what I want my students to co-design with me. So in the classroom, we have to cultivate curiosity, give students a voice and ownership of their own learning, co-design, that's why I took this from Trevor, collaborate, change of roles and mindset, because they change from being students to being facilitators and to facilitating their own learning, and also a change of mindset and roles for us as teachers, because we are not the focus anymore. The focus is on the students, so we have to change our mindset. We give them a purpose, we engage and include every student, and it promotes equity. So as I couldn't give you only one book from Trevor to get a theory of backup from this session, I've chosen his sketch notes. This one is called Ways to Honor Questions in the Classroom, and you have little bits and pieces that you can put in your classroom. And I like it because it's designed for a small place. You will see that my classroom, my learning spaces are quite big. I'm very lucky. My school is quite big. But I always try to take into account people who are not working in a place like the one I'm working at, who are not as lucky as I am. And there you have, it's true, you have a very small space. So you can see that even with the teeny tiny space you have, you can design a PYP classroom. Then I chose these other two sketch notes, how to empower inquiry spaces and the 10 characteristics of the inquiry classroom, because it's something that you need to have on the back of your mind as a facilitator, because your role will be facilitators, and to guide your students in what you expect from them as co-designers. So on one side, you have how to empower inquiry spaces. You have the cave, the watering hole, the campfire, and live. I encourage you to find these sketch notes. They are free. They are on Trevor's page. So you can just Google Trevor Mackenzie and you will see sketch notes and you can download them. I have them as posters in my class and they are great for inspiration. And also they are really cute. So, and then on the other side, you have like 10 tricks, 10 characteristics of an inquiry classroom. Basically, it's what I've said before, what I've said in the previous slide on this one. They will tell you to cultivate curiosity, to give students a voice, to co-design, to collaborate with them as peers, not as students. You are co-creating, don't forget that. To give students a purpose, because when they have a purpose, they have a motivation. Engage and include, because every student will have valid ideas, and that will lead to promoting equity. So this is the theory. Okay, that was the theory. I promised it was short and straight to the point. You don't need anything else. Here you see pictures of my amazing school. This is the school I work at. One of my workmates presented yesterday, Miss Lucy. I am so lucky to work with her. So she would be familiar with these pictures too. These are parts of our school that are learning spaces as well. The first one is like a free learning space. The second one is part of the library, and the third one is part of the library too, the lighthouse, which is one of the favorite ones for my students. They love reading there. These learning spaces are very special because they were co-designed by students and teachers. My school was redone last year, and we were given the chance, a little team of us, I was part of the team, we were given the chance of making proposals for the, the refurbishing of the school or whatever you want to call it. And then we were asking some of the students too. As I said, I'm really lucky because this is brand new and I feel I'm very fortunate to work there. We use these learning spaces for inquiry, for looking at books, for making questions. We use them for presentations. They can present their work to peers or to other classes or to parents. Parents can come and do activities, chats, talks, workshops there. So it's like very open, it's like very friendly. And as I said, it was co-designed by us, by a little team of us and by some of the students. Here you have more learning spaces. This one here is the school hall, and we use it for storytelling, for working, for reading, for chilling. They have little tables where they can chat or we can have meetings with the parents. And then the other picture, the one in which the children are making like a structure, those are my students this year. And that's the football field. And that's an example of how to use and promote spaces around us as learning spaces to promote inquiry. I'm very lucky, as Mohammed said, I live in Spain, so we have lots of sun, and for me, it's winter now, it's cold, but for some people it won't be cold at all because it's like 10 degrees or 12 degrees. So I can do lots of outside activities. That's something good that came from pandemic. It changed my mindset because I was forced to do lots of outdoor activities, and now I'm used to it. So I designed lots of activities, taking learning spaces outside to promote inquiry, making the outside of my class, the football field, the steps near my school.
I can't
Learning
stay till
spaces.
7 o'clock, Stefan, here. They want me to stay
So,
till 7:30.
so the thing is that
I told them, yeah, that's what I said. I can't do
oh,
it.
I'm hearing a voice.
Yes, just a
I'm
moment.
not going to tell them everything.
Ron, could you mute your microphone? Or this is the question that you are addressing to Penelope? Oh, it wasn't for you. So Penelope, apologies for
Okay.
that. We have like so many people
I think he was
around.
talking on the phone, yeah.
I'm still hearing it. Okay.
Yeah, we will torture you with questions at the end of the session. Please
Okay. I
forgive us for
promise. I promise to keep it short, but I was hearing a voice in my head, and I was like, I haven't got that yet.
do your best. Apologies one more time.
No, it's really funny. Okay, so going back to the picture, I'm now one of the crazy teachers that spends most of the time outside with my 20 to 6-year-old ones. As Blanca said, I teach year one of primary one. So it's hard and rewarding at the same time. And well, you will see later. That's for later. So this is an example of a use of a learning space to promote inquiry that doesn't have to be, a brand new school like the other photos I've shown you, because I'm pretty sure that everybody's not as lucky as me. Okay, then we go back to the classroom as learning spaces. Here you have my little monkeys discussing and just, commenting what they want to do. So how can we start making the classroom a safe learning space? I've already said it. They have to be safe. It has to be neutral. It has to be like set up, but in a neutral way. Nothing is like completely done. You have to take into account, again, I'm going to say it again because I think it's very important, that you have to change your mindset, and you have to bear in mind that it has to be organic and changing. That means that you cannot have a Pinterest perfect class for the whole year. It will change, it will grow, it will evolve. It maybe go backwards, it maybe go forward. So you have to relax and just go with the flow. You have to establish a basis for when they arrive. Things do have to be set up. Then you can do a negotiation when you feel they are ready. You can direct the students, but you have to give them agency. If things get a little bit wild, you have to assume it. I'm saying a little bit wild because with 6-year-olds, we can end up with the class looking like Disneyland. You have to make them feel part of the process. They have to feel that they are equal to you and valued, and give them a voice. If you do all that list, those are the basics, you will get a student ownership and lifelong learning. Because if they learn in a place they have made and they have designed, they will feel better, they will learn more, and they will be owners of their own learning. And that's my belief. I've seen it. Here you have them deciding. This is the day we decided what we wanted to change and how we wanted to have it. We had a little bit of discussion. We had a little bit of negotiation. And I will show you how we did it basically in a minute. And it took us like a week, the process. Okay, first of all, you will see later why I'm just showing you these photos when you see how we did it. I have to say that this was back in November. They had been with me September, October, and half of November. And why did I wait 3 months to do that? Because it was primary one. They had just arrived to primary from infants, from early years. They were not ready. They were adjusting. So they needed to adjust to me, adjust to the rhythm. adjust to how the class was, and then start working in teams, start working in groups, because sometimes they call it teams. And once they felt confident with the cooperative learning, once they felt they were okay with working in groups, once they had learned the dynamics, and once they felt that the classroom was their home, they would be ready for the next step, which was the design of the learning space. You see 3 pictures in the middle, 2 children talking and deciding what to do. It's the same conversation as we saw in the previous picture that took a week. Then you see like a little empty table and a library. That's the section they use for inquiry, the inquiry corner. And then you see the phonics corner. That was more or less set up when they arrived. They had the little trays with resources, they had some tables, but it was like a scheme of a class. This is an inquiry corner completely done, with books they brought from home, with teddies, with essential agreements, with everything. Yes, inquiry corner. The inquiry corner is a special place in my class in which we put resources and materials, but you can ask in the questions later if you want. It's a thing I made up during pandemic, and that it's quite great for our class. Okay. This is the center of the presentation. This is basically what I used to promote the co-design of the classroom. When we were confident and comfortable, and we felt like that the classroom was our home, and I was like family for them, we felt we had a family, I did a whole class assembly, and we worked as a whole class group. And I presented this as a worksheet for them to discuss and to have a debate about co-designing the classroom. So I told them that I needed help. So I made them, equals to me. They could help the teacher. And then I needed their help to make the classroom nicer for us. And I wanted them to make a list, voting and deciding as a group of what they saw and they liked about the class, and about things that they wanted to change, that they didn't like, or that they thought that were not working. Because sometimes children do surprise you, and you're making mistakes and you don't realize, or things are not the best way to promote learning, and you don't realize until you see it from a child's point of view. Sorry. So this was the basis of our discussion, okay? This little worksheet I made. It's based on the visible thinking routine. I see, I think, and I wonder. Sorry, see, think, wonder. But it's a simplified version I use, which is I see and what if. So what I see, what if we change it? What we think we can change. It was a very, very simple visible thinking routine for them, combined with the co-designing, with the cooperative learning approach. And this is what I got. This is a sample of what I got. I am a teacher, a co-teacher and a teacher. That means I am tutor and I have one class, but I co-teach another class. What did they see? They saw the sticker charts place. We have little sticker charts for individual rewarding. The sticker charts place, the place of the water bottles. That means that they wanted to move the sticker charts from where they were on a wall, and they wanted to put them on top of the box where we leave our water bottles every day. Why? Because they wanted an empty wall to put some things and make like a learning museum. I will explain that later if you want. So we moved all the sticker charts. That means I moved them, but I say we because we did it together. We moved it to another place, and that was quite a great idea because I had an empty wall and I hadn't thought about it. Then the pencil question routine, which is a question routine from Thermal Mackenzie I use in my lessons, the inquiry corner. They didn't want the pencil question routine in the inquiry corner. They wanted it on the learning wall. So I moved it and I put it inside the learning wall. And it has worked very well in my classes as well. And then things that they wanted to change. They wanted to change the recycling bin place because that's a bit silly, but it was okay because I had the recycling bin near my whiteboard and they wanted it on the other side. So we moved it. The library place. The library was in the inquiry corner and they didn't like it because they didn't have a space to sit down and look at books and investigate and take notes or just experiment. So we put the library separate into corners. Miss Raquel, Doña Raquel's trolley, which is a trolley my co-worker who teaches Spanish uses, they wanted to change it to the phonics area. So we put it in the phonics area. The floppy phonics freezes, they wanted to change them. So they wanted to be hanging from pegs. That was quite a lot of work for me because I'm quite short. So, but I did it. And then on the learning wall, they didn't want a common inquiry circle. They wanted a ladder to climb and then monkey balls to play, like, imaginary ones, you will see them. But that was okay, so I changed it. And they learned better because they had designed the classroom. It was a unique adventure because, as I said, it took a week. One day we were discussing as a group. The next day we were still discussing as a group. Then we were writing down ideas. Then we were copying the ideas because they wanted an individual piece of paper for each one of them. So they were copying the ideas on the piece of paper. And then we were changing the class. And then we were testing the class and see if it was working. But by the end of the week, we had our own learning space designed by us and for us. So it was great. I mean, for me, it was a unique experience. As I said, my summary, classroom changed and they were the ones taking action. So as they were the ones taking action, they felt more motivated. They understood better the purpose of each part of the learning spaces. Different classrooms have different outcomes, depending on the students' choices. And it was a greater sense of belonging. It was great. Now they feel they are part of the process. And now, no, by that time, by December, the classroom energy was much more, powerful. It was great. It was great to see in such little students. And especially being able to share it with you now, because I don't know about you, but some people don't believe that when you have little students, you can do these things. And they are capable if you give them the tools they need. They are very capable. They don't have boundaries. They don't have fear. They are not like adults. They don't have that sense of being scared of making a mistake. They don't have that. They are fresh. So here you can have an example of different classes, different outcomes. You have the class that decided to have a ladder on the learning wall and the monkey bars. And then you have an example of the other class who wanted a road to follow the road of learning. Both of them decided to have the pencil question in the middle, the pencil question routine, but different classes, different outcomes, different corners, different reading styles, different learning styles, different children. Same teacher, but different children. And I promise I will be short and I will give you time for the questions. So this is my time for the questions.
Yes, we have lots of questions,
I know.
Penelope. Thank you for such insightful presentation. We've just been talking with other attendees that simply I would love to be in your school if I had been given any chance to get back to my old school times, because it looks not only promising, but so cozy. It feels like home. And this is like so open space for any development that, wow, you are really lucky, as you said, to have
Very
this
lucky.
chance to work in such environment. However, not everyone has this opportunity. So I wanted to ask you, because, sometimes certain institutions struggle with funds, however, they can focus on applying for any subsidy, any grants. Not every school has this chance. So from your experience and perspective, how we as teachers, together with stakeholders, principals, we can co-design learning spaces in low prep and low cost way?
Well, I've been there too. I've been in other places, I've been in other schools. So I've always tried to get my way, eventually. As I said at the beginning, if you take, for example, one of Trevor's sketch notes as a model, if you have a little class and you cannot have a learning wall, you can have a window. Even a window could be a learning wall or a door or one of those, notebooks, big notebooks you have can be a learning wall for children, or you can hang things from pegs and make a display or make a little corner with a peg and some fabric. I mean, we teachers always get our own resources, even though if we are in an amazing school, we have that defect in our genes. We end up buying things, getting things from home and taking them to class. Looking at things people are going to throw and say, no, 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 don't throw that. I will put it in my class. So anything can make a learning space if you are a resourceful person. Now, with the help of internet, you can go to Pinterest, for example, and just get nice ideas with a cardboard box or with a couple of pieces of paper. And even if you are in a small school, but you have, for example, an interactive whiteboard, you can have a digital learning wall, or you can have a digital corner that changes with one of those free programs. The possibilities are endless. And even though I have that amazing space, I end up doing the simple things. Last year, for example, I had a display outside my class, and it was made by bits and pieces that my coworker was going to throw. And I said, no, 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 don't throw it. I will reuse it. And I end up stapling everything on the wall and doing it. And I have an amazing learning space, but I felt that I didn't want to throw those things away, and I wanted to make something simple for the children. So sometimes simple is better. Just keep it simple and use any space you have available.
Yeah, sure. As you said, teachers are very creative. I perceive as educators and teachers sometimes even way beyond of artists, because very often we are wearing so many hats, being an academic, sometimes a parent, a good friend, a teacher, a mentor, and an artist, because and very often we are forced kind of to find something from the scratch and create something from the scratch. So we might encounter certain problems with funds. How about some suggestion for large number of students per one class? For instance, someone gave the example of 28 to 32 students, especially with a small class. If I'm understanding it correctly, in terms of small class, it's about the size of the class. So what would you say? What would be your suggestion?
Okay,
Many students, small class.
I have 23 students in my class. And that's a big number for what we are used to have, which is like 16. As I said, I'm very lucky. But last year I had 16, this year I have 23. And my class, it's already packed and it's a big class. But I do lots of activities with my other class, and that means I have 44 children usually in my class. So I'm used to it. Someone was saying like some of the pictures were like Montessori style. That's my trick for having learning spaces, taking them outside the class if they don't fit. I don't know if someone was mentioning as well, being in a school in the woods. If you have a free space outside, do outside activities. They can have a little folder and a piece of paper if they need to write, or they can have like a teacher-led activity, like a big activity they can do together outside that is meaningful, and then they can go back to the class and in a reduced space try to put that into notes or into drawings if they are small, like to have, so you have like an exit ticket or like some kind of take away from the class or taking pictures. But I would recommend changing the space or like making the activity adapt to the little space you will have.
Wonderful. Thank you for this extensive answer. Based on your experience, can you share us some challenges that you faced while you were trying to design or co-design learning space in your educational setting? Because I guess it barely happens that everything goes smoothly since the very beginning, yeah?
Well, yeah, I've given you the final product, the final, aha moment in which we designed the class. But obviously, it's a long and hard process, and it's hard to get there. So challenges. Challenges could be children that are not used to work in teams because cooperation hasn't been trained. So you have to be the one training them. Also, another challenge can be co-workers or people that work with story if it happened. Yeah,
Take the risk and leave the comfort zone, kind
yeah.
of. Mm. Mm. So, in terms of taking some risks, I believe that any kind of educational environment should be based on dialogue. And sometimes this dialogue can be risky because we, as teachers and educators, professionals, we might perceive certain educational patterns, approaches, syllabus differently than, for instance, parents. So, from your experience, what would you advise all teachers when they have to collaborate effectively with parents in designing or co-designing such spaces?
Ooh, that's the question. It's not a question, that's the question. Because I know parents are demanding all over the world. And obviously, as parents, we want the best for our children, but sometimes what we want is not the best. So how to find a middle path? I've learned with all the years of experience I have that the best thing is to be open, to be completely open about what you're doing and to show them everything that you are doing, to make the classroom an open space for them to come if they want, or send lots of pictures. We have a safe school platform in which we can put the pictures and it's only accessible to parents. So the pictures of the children are only there. And I found out that since I've decided to be so open and just to show everything I do, it's been better because little by little, even though if they feel hesitant or they don't trust a lot what you are doing or the process or the way you're teaching, if they see both the examples and that you are open and you see that the children are learning, that they are happy, they will feel confident and things will go smoothly. So I think the best is to be open, completely open about what you are doing. And if they want to come, you receive them and they come to class. For example, we welcome our parents in the different units of inquiry to talk about the things they do or their work or tell a story. So we are completely open to them. And that I think that gives them the trust in us they need in the process.
Well, entirely agree with that. Can you share us also some, let's try to pin down for a moment, because you told us about many benefits of such learning spaces. Let's pin down maybe your stories before being in such environments and maybe after. Any impact that everything that you are doing right now brought on learning? How would you differentiate, compare, like earlier and before? What has changed?
Before they learned, because children learn, but it was more automatic. I think it was less motivating for them. It was less meaningful for them. And they learned, they got the knowledge, and eventually next year, maybe they will forget. But now they are learning, and I can really see them enjoying what they do and being happy and wanting to learn more. So I think the learning is deeper and bigger than before, and also more consistent. It will last longer. It impacts them more.
Thank you for that. The last question I have, because today we also had a talk about neurodiversity, and this is a kind of area that we are still learning. There's lots of research and scientific study made on that. So in terms of creating and co-designing such spaces, but in diverse, with students of diverse needs, what would you advise?
Well, I've been there. I've had my cases in class, and I would advise not to do it if you haven't been consistent in trying to integrate those students in the group. Integrate them according to their needs as well. Because, for example, if you are into cooperative learning and you have a student who has problems because it's too rigid or doesn't get on well or doesn't feel confident, with working in a group, you have first to teach all the other students that being different is okay, and that we have to embrace those differences and try to make it possible for that student to work with them. Once you manage to establish that balance, then you can go for the co-designing. That's why I was mentioning Kath Murdoch as cooperative learning source. Because if you don't teach students to cooperate and to collaborate, and thus to integrate students that need to be integrated, and to make those students realize as well that they have something to offer to the group, and to promote that equality, you won't be able to co-design the learning space because it will end up in complete chaos. And it won't be a controlled chaos. If it's a controlled chaos, it's okay. But if it's just chaos, no. So I would recommend that, to have like a training period of cooperation, collaboration, building a sense of teamwork, a sense of family, as we say it in my class. We say we're a family. So they are safe, so they feel confident, and they will feel that even the littlest contribution can be valid for them. And they will feel
Entirely
empowered.
agree with that.